Welcome once again to Divine Woman Talk Show. I am still your host, Lindy Wegule. Thank you so much for joining us again. And we are still discussing the topic, restoring the dignity of marriage. And this time, we're doing a reload. Just to remind you, we covered from our previous show on restoring the dignity of marriage. We discussed finances in a marriage institution. We discussed the importance of creating boundaries in a marriage institution. We discussed the importance of prayer in the marriage institution. And please do stay with us. Today we are going to dig more in the topic, and I hope that you will learn everything that we have for you today. Stay with us. Now, as you know, family, this is a very informative topic that we're discussing, restoring the dignity of marriage. And I'm never alone. With me, I have an anointed man and woman of God. I will allow them to introduce themselves. On my right, I've got Estelle August.
Good afternoon, Lindy. Thank you for the invitation. Good afternoon to your listeners. My name is Estelle August. I'm a woman of God. I am serving in a mainline church in the south of Johannesburg. In my secular life, I am an educational psychologist and I work within schools. I'm so happy to be here with you to discuss this interesting topic.
Thank you so much, Estelle. And I've also got a man of God, Apostle Richard Katengeza. I will allow him to introduce himself.
Greetings to the viewers. Thank you so much, Lindy, for the opportunity to come and speak on this interesting topic. My name is Richard Katengeza. I am a minister of the gospel. In my secular life, I am a businessman. I'm in transport. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, family. Now, as we start, please do take time to go back to our previous topic, the same topic that we have discussed. We are discussing again today, restoring the dignity of marriage. You'll find very interesting topics, very interesting things that will help you in your marriage and that will help you as you seek to restore that marriage institution that you are part of. And as we start, Solomon writes in the book of Song of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 15, and says, "Catch the foxes for us, the little foxes that spoil the vineyard. For our vineyards are in blossom." And the reality is, they are foxes. And foxes are those difficulties, the things that come and spoil the beautiful thing that God created to be marriage. The thing that we're supposed to be protecting with all of us, because it is something that God created to be beautiful. So as we discuss today, we're seeking to really put us back to that place as the church and also as the society of how do we begin to restore the dignity of marriage. And as we begin, we do have a question. As you know, that's how we do it. I've got a question for my panel. And it goes as, how important is it to ensure that love continues to grow in a marriage? Because reality is, personally, I've seen that people get married and we celebrate the first year, the first 2 years. After that, they dangle at this place where they're no longer growing. There's no longer that excitement of being in a marriage. There's no longer that honeymoon stage. You know, yes, it comes at a certain time, but it's a responsibility of the two to work at building that, isn't it? And to work at staying in that place. Where are we going wrong? How can we work at that? And what is so important to ensure? Why is it so important that we ensure that this thing called love, especially in a marriage, it continues to grow? Anyone would like
Ladies
to?
first.
Thank you. Also, that's how we're going to play it. Good. Lindy, that's a very interesting topic. I think if we start from a spiritual perspective, which is always good, biblically we've been trained and we've learned that God so loved the world that he gave his only son. And God gave us the commandment to say, love one another as I have loved you. And I think in order to restore and in order for us to maintain love in our relationships and as relationships grows, we need to remember the foundation is love. And that we need to always find each other in that space. Developmentally, we grow. We are teenagers. We begin with children, teenagers, young adults, and we tend to focus on that developmental stage as if life begins and ends there. but developmentally, we grow up, we become 45, we become 50, we become 60, we become 70. And those developmental years there are also changes there that happens. There are also fears there that happens in those stages. There are also concerns that are there in those stages, and it's important in order for us to grow that unity as for partners to check in with each other on a regular basis, for partners to ask each other, where are you, and for partners to be willing to find what is the trigger that still makes you feel love, and remind each other, why are we together? Remind each other, what is it that I like about you? Because remember, physically I change, and I change from being this young, vibrant woman, and I change and I become a more real person, and so it's so important that my partner, as I grow, we grow old together. There's this lovely saying that I've heard, that my furniture must change as my age with my children change. So if I have young children, my furniture must be easy. I mustn't be afraid for my kids to jump on my furniture, and my furniture must be easygoing. But as I grow older, my furniture becomes more settled, more firm, because then I can put the white sofa in the lounge or the leather sofa because the dogs have jumped already and all those kind of things. So that I believe that is an interesting analogy, but it's something that I feel we can consider. Our relationship must change as we change, but we need to be in touch with each other. We need to be able to talk to each other. We need to be able to communicate with each other. We need to be able to know that the gel that puts us together is still there, and find something that reminds you of why you fell in love in the first place, because the physical disappears. Beauty is fleeting, Lindy. The Bible says that. So we need to be able to change. We need to be able to change with each other. And don't be afraid to see this young has now transformed into something else. That is where wisdom comes in, that you are willing to change with each other, check in with each other, and remember, it is a developmental stage. There's nothing wrong with growing old gracefully and growing old together.
Wow. You touched on some very, very interesting points, a woman of God. Talk about change. How many of us are comfortable with change? Like out of 100%. That's another topic on its own. Change is a very tricky place to be in. But, as you speak, you just reminded me of something that I've once heard, that every year, there's people who are very conscious of renewing their vows every year. I think we also, whether we renew our vows or not, but the fact that we're still together at the back of our minds, it should have play somehow out that every year we renew our vows, or every year we're still together. We are still together, but we are changing. It's as if you are still together, but you're no longer with that person. I'm no longer the same Lindy I was yesterday or last year, or maybe the same Lindy I'll be next year. So I think we need to understand that as the years go by, we change. And we need to be flexible to that change, because we both change. And the reality is, when the change happens in both of us, if I'm looking from this side, I'll look at the change that I see in you, not minding the change that is happening in me. Wow, thank you for that, woman of God. Man of God, what do you have to say?
Interesting input. I think the first thing that I think is very important with regards to the friendship, I would use an analogy of don't forget your ladders, meaning what you fell in love with when you met. I think that is very critical. You have to make sure you maintain that. So I think the problems in relationship is that maybe when you met a lady, you took her out to a nice restaurant, you dressed up for it, you brought some flowers. And I think the problem is with familiarity, because you have now been with her, you feel like those things are not important. And I think that's what I'm saying, don't forget your letters. That means whatever you used to come here, use the same thing. Use the same thing. And because of what you said as well, of the change. I think the second thing that I would like to point out is that I think you must appreciate the fact that people's needs evolve. Yeah. So what she needed when you got married 3 years ago is not what she needs now. And then I give you an example. When you met her, she was a young little girl, she was pretty. Now she's growing up. She's just beautiful. But now your affirmation now might mean more than what it meant then. Because now maybe she has 2 of your children. When you come and say, baby, I still love you. You're still beautiful. It means a different thing. You understand? So I think you have to understand what is the person's needs at this time. Because their needs will change. Maybe they need more affirmation now than they needed then. You understand? Maybe they need you to be more of a friend now, because as we begin a relationship, there's a lot of differences, between us. At some point, you must be fine also with somebody's difference. Yes. You cannot be fighting them the whole way. You can't be fighting for them. That's what is going to weary them. I think respect that they need their quiet time in the morning, for example. Accept it and be fine with that. You also find something to do during that time. Respect that they want you to go on a vacation maybe for some time. Maybe that's what you're going to use to build the relationship. So I'm dealing with the issue of the change. Be very flexible and fine with the changes. I think as we are friends, there's going to be changes. And if we don't come together and agree on the changes, the friendship might break. Not because we don't love each other, not because husband and wife, there's no love. No, but now you're not moving with me. You have to move with me. You have to move. You have to understand who I am right now. Is not the person that I was back then. The responsibilities have changed. So have I. And I think that's one of the important things. So we'll come back to the most important thing, which is communication. We must be friends. And as we're friends, we must communicate. And this means you must be willing to hear the stuff you don't want to hear. If you are friends, I have to tell you that. And I think, let me throw this in. You're my wife. You have to be fine with what I love. I'm your husband. You must be fine with. I must be fine to say no. You're my husband. Don't wear this because you're my husband. It's that personal. I think there's no problem with you telling me that no, I like you like this. That's the flexibility that I'm dealing with. To say you are for me, I am for you. What you love must be my priority. And I think those are the things that we have to communicate. That this is what I expect. This is what I love. And this is what I feel will make us better. Maybe we have to go to a different place. Maybe let's take the kids and leave them at the granny for a week and see how we vibe. See, just the 2 of us. And then we have to be able to say, no, I think these are other people's opinion. What do you really want? I hear what your parents said. I hear but the communication, and that comes from a place where we know that when somebody says something that is different, be okay. Be okay with somebody having a different opinion, having a different preference. That's where the flexibility must be. And I think that becomes very critical. Yes, thank you.
Wow. Hey, very amazing things that I'm hearing on how we can make sure that love continues to grow. And I had the adaptation of the change that must happen. We need to be adaptive. We need to allow that change to happen. And I hear also that the importance of friendship, that's also is a vital point, a vital thing that we need to make sure that it is nurtured. And also communication. And I would like to also add a point of reflecting. I think as any unit or any unit, let me put it like that, it is vital to always go back and reflect. Just as it is vital for any organization or any ministry or any business, whatever, if you're seeking to see progress or success in whatever you are trying to build, it's always good to go back and reflect. And I think this is one of the things that couples can introduce themselves to say, maybe we can go on one Sunday a month, we go out, it's just the 2 of us. That's where we talk out things. That's where we look at ourselves. The mirror must be within us to say, where are the the blind spots? What are the things that which are not working in this relationship? What are the things that we can introduce to this relationship? What are the things that we're not doing right in this relationship? What are the things we can do better or work better at? Those are things that we can gain when we reflect. One Sunday, go out to the picnic. The kids are not there. It's just the two of you. Leave the phones at home or leave them in the car. And let it just be the two of you talking. Everything, let the conversation just flow. Talk about the things we forget to talk about. Because sometimes you come back from work, you're tired, you want to talk about this and something comes up. Those are times when you do make reflection intentional. It can be very beneficial to your relationship and to your marriage. That can be very helpful. Now let's move on. I like us to go deeper, Fundisi, on the part of friendship. I like what you highlighted when you spoke about friendship. And I realized the importance of friendship in a marriage. We cannot grow together if we are not in that kind of a friendship and agreement. We need to be somehow agreeing to the fact that you are my diehard. You are my friend, that I can trust you with anything. What are the other things we can find in friendship which can be helpful to the couples who are listening and that are seeking to restore their marriage? What are the benefits that we can get from friendship? And how important is friendship? Because I believe that there's a lot we can find there.
Friendship is a very interesting topic that I find, because it speaks to social interaction. Because, where are friends coming from, right? Where does the concept of friends start is when we are at that adolescent age and we step out of our comfort zone in the family unit and we step into finding new personalities, new characters that develops us and that grows us in terms of us being ready to take on the burdens and the challenges of society, because now I'm getting a new group, a new dynamic comes into my being. And friendship for me is very important in a relationship. I think if you do not base your relationship with the understanding that we are friends, you are going to set yourself up for a very challenging relationship. I think when it comes to the idea of friends as well, remember our partners will have their own friends, that are outside, that they will connect with, but the friendship between the two of you are more intense, are different. It's a different friendship. Unfortunately, they use the same word, but it's a very different relationship than what I would have with my best friend out there. But when things go wrong in the relationship, as they would, then you need to have that stability to hold on to, and that is where your friendship, the glue, comes in. When the proverbial honeymoon phase is dwindling, then you need to be able to talk to each other about anything. And friends spend time together. Friends talk with each other. Friends go do movies. What do friends do? They go and have movies. They go and have lovely, general, easygoing conversations. And that friendship keeps your relationship and the spark there. It makes it lovely. It makes it vibey, because you have other things other than the finances and the children. You've got other things to talk about because you share the commonness. So I think having that friendship element, you cannot go into a relationship. It's not only about physical. It's about other things as well, and that's where that friendship comes in. Remember, we feed each other on 4 different dimension. We feed each other physically, we feed each other emotionally, we feed each other socially, and we feed each other spiritually. But spiritually, for me, it would then obviously be the foundation, But and Friendship is in every one of those domains, every one of those aspects. There must be that element of play and that element of friendship there, because it keeps that glue together. So let us not forget to be friends, and let us not forget to start our relationship on the right footing, because I always say, and I agree, that the stranger is only the friend that you didn't meet, that you didn't meet. So when you meet your partner, he was a stranger at some point, and then he came into your life, or she came into your life, and you developed a friendship, you developed a rapport. And then from there, when that connection is, you continue and you take it from there. But that friendship is what actually, and that connection is what brought you together, hopefully, and it's what is going to sustain you as you continue into the development of your relationship. Wow.
That's beautiful, woman of God. Beautiful.
I want to touch on a certain aspect of friendship. And just like any good friendship, there has to be intentionality.
Yes.
What I mean is have days and times set for each other. Yes. So this is not just going to happen. You have to... No. You for example, I'm big on... cook for your loved one on Sundays. I prefer cooking for my woman on Sundays. So when we come from church, we buy something because we're tired. But later on, I'm the one who's doing the cooking. They say Sundays are for lovers. There's something like that you can do. You know that, okay, every 3 months we go out. These are things that you do. Yes, it's a routine. You can make up your mind as a man and as a woman to say, you know what, every month part of my routine is that I buy a gift for my partner. These things.
Let's not wait for Mother's Day.
No, of course. Let's not wait for Valentine's Day. These are the things that I'm telling you. They will bond. They'll create a very strong bond, because you must know that if you have created a certain routine with this person. It's not easy to break it, because the other person doesn't know that you have been under this intense routine that you have been on. So the emphasis is be intentional about how. I give you an example. I've got a friend of mine. Every month we make sure we meet. And we're not even big. We just go to a simple restaurant. We meet. We catch up. We catch up. We catch up. So it's an intentional thing to say. So you go to work. Your wife goes to work. You won't have all the time to discuss everything at night. And for some of us, we're in a little bit of more things than others. We've got ministry. I've got family. I've got your business, and then So if we're gonna have time, it has to be intentional. Yes. Intentional about putting the phones away. Intentional about let's just stay in the house. Popcorn, watch movies as we find time to ask each other. Something came to me as well as you spoke, Fundis Lindy, on the issue of the issues that we don't deal with. Yes. There has to be a moment when you hurt me. You hurt me that Tuesday. There has to be an allowance for that. That we can be vulnerable. To say, you know what, I didn't have time to talk to you about it, but that was not good. How you responded to me. So like you're saying, reflection. I'm coming back to your point of reflection. We're reflecting how have we been treating each other intentionally.
Has things
Changed, yes. Yes. Why? Yeah. Because sometimes we let it go, yet it affected us. And then the problem with these things is that they pile. So you don't want things piling up. Yeah, and sometimes, and this is an amazing thing that I want you to leave you with as I finish, is that sometimes your partner wouldn't have meant what you thought. I've realized this. This is so liberating to know that I can hurt you and I didn't mean it. Or maybe how I put it across is not exactly what I actually meant. You know? So when we reflect, you can go back to, what were you saying about the kids? Then I have a time to explain to, no, this is actually what I was saying. And then maybe when you you got it all wrong. So you see those intentional moments of romance, those intentional moments of reflection, those quiet times, those special occasions, make it a routine. Yes, make it everything that's going to work in our lives. What I've learned is, as a principle, this is just a principle, is that it must be built on a routine. If you're going to have it work, there must be a certain routine. This is how we do this. This is how we do this. So I'll give you an example. I'm in ministry. So I know that, okay, Sunday, I'm focusing on the church. Then I know that, no, Saturdays, whether you want me or you don't want me, or whether you are busy or it's an emergency, I'm not available. That's what is going to work. Because if I'm going to leave that, then I'm going to have my Saturday off, and I'm going to have my Sunday off, and then I have no time for my family. So I have to have a good routine to say, no, my Saturday, I focus on my family. It doesn't matter what you need. We'll see each other tomorrow. It might be bad, but that's what's going to help me. Because if I open that door, Monday to Friday I'm working. Saturday I'll be doing ministry. Sunday I'll be doing ministry. Then you see that I have little time for my wife. Yeah. Then I have to be intentional to say, no, if my Saturday is for me, my wife, and my kids. And then Sunday I can deal with anything. I can stay the whole day in the church. Because that's another dynamic that sometimes ministers find themselves in. That they are everything to everyone else. To everyone else, but their family. You find that you are giving yourself to work, so you are helping people, you're helping the business to move, and then you are an absent, present father and mother, if you understand what I mean. So the issue of being intentional, and you having a strict routine. How are we going to be friends? And what are we going to do? That is going to insight. Something just came that I forgot. Moments. Create moments. Yes, you have to be intentional that we're going to create nice moments for each other. To say, no, I was tired during the week. On Saturday, I had a blast. I went out with my husband. I went out with my wife. We had a great time. So that the more the moments, the greater the bond. So these are the things that really you cannot, when you feel like it's not going to work. It's not going to work. I know there are days you not feel like it, but because you have a routine, on Saturdays, I take my family out. Whatever it takes. Even if we have to go to a simple meal. That's it. But we share the time. When there is a lot of money, we can do extra things, but that moment must be kept. And I think that's the most important about friendships, the moments that we share with each other.
Thank you, Mfundis. The importance of creating moments and the importance of being intentional. Being intentional about spending time with each other. Being intentional about being present. We live our lives on social media. We live our lives on the phone because of how the world has changed, and we can't change that, but we can change still how we run our lives, our family. Marriage is your responsibility. If you are married, you are responsible to that marriage. You have to do your part so that it works. Kuyasetshenzwa emshadweni. Kuyakhulunywa emshadweni. Let us not shy away from dealing with those topics that you've hurt me, and sometimes you may feel like it was intentional, but you'd find out once talking that it was not meant to be. It was an honest accident which eventually hurt you. That is why we need to talk about those issues, before you go to your friend or before you go to the next person to discuss what my husband has done or what my wife has done. Speak to your friend, speak to your wife, your husband, let them know these are the things you've done. These are the things you've said. Maybe you didn't realize how they would sit with me, beloved, please, marriage is something that God created and something that we should value it and handle it with care, because the generation that we're living in, it's looking upon us as the body of Christ. If we do not respect this institute that God has created, how else is the world going to respect it? Especially now in the 24th century, where the world has created their own version of what is called marriage. God created marriage in his special and own design. But unfortunately, because of the sinful nature of man, we've got so many marriages in this society and in this time, in the 24th century, which God did not create. Whether we want to talk about it, and I think that's a topic for another day, whether we want to talk about it or not, but that's a truth and a reality. With that said, do stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
No winning.
Welcome back to Divine Women Talk Show. I am still your host, Lindy Gule, and you are still with us discussing this interesting topic, restoring the dignity of marriage. And it's a reload, so it's a second sitting because we saw it fit that this is a very fruitful topic and so much attention needs to be given to it because there is so much that can be done to restore the dignity of marriage. And as we move on, please remember to like, share, and comment on this video. Tell us your thoughts. Send us your thoughts. We'd love to hear what you think about this topic. We'd love to hear what you feel can be done to restore the dignity of marriage. And as we move on, Proverbs 11 verse 14 says, "Where there is no guidance, a people fall, but in an abundance of counsels, there is safety." You see, that is why we always invite people so that we can join our hands together and find out what is God saying on the matter. Let's move on. I have another question, as you know, as we move, individualism, beloved. I believe that God creates you as God created Adam. He created Adam, and whether he was in a deep sleep, but he was a finished Adam, isn't it? Yes, we know that the Eve was not there, but he was still a finished Adam. So how important is it to know who you are and what God has called you to do, even or to know who you are as an individual, to know your gifts, to know your talents, to know why you're here on earth, what's your purpose, before you join yourself in a marriage institution. Because again, it helps by the time you join yourself in a marriage institution, if you know who you are, it helps also when you channel yourself with someone else. It helps somehow that when the two of you come, you know how you are going to best together serve the purpose that God has called either you or your partner to. What are your thoughts on individualism? Because in my mind, I feel like somehow you need to know who Apostle Richard is. Apostle Richard should be a person who's able to think on his own, stand on his own, be able to have his passions, his own aspirations of life, that can be communicated to your partner, that the two of you can communicate and find ways on how we can work on them as a unit.
I'm going to reverse the roles and say gentlemen. Take
All right. I'll touch on one thing for the sake of time. Individuality in vision. I think one of the frustrations that happen in relationships is when the family is being driven by the one individual's vision. What do I mean? I mean, I think as a husband, have something that you're doing for yourself, by yourself. And then as a wife, have something that you're doing. Because I have also learned that sometimes when you realize that your friend is busy with something and you're doing nothing, you get frustrated. Yes. The frustration comes because there's nothing that you're working on. So I think find individuality in doing something that God has assigned for you. Whether it's business, whether it's ministry, whatever it is. I think because when you find yourself there, it's going to help in terms of focus. You have less time focusing on what the other person is doing, which I feel like that's what brings a lot of problem. Because I'm busy with what I'm doing, and then you have nothing to do. So you scrutinize my work. Whereas if you had something that you're working on your own, and then, of course, we'll come to the issue of support. You support me, I support you. But what are you doing?
I love that.
What are you doing? Yes, I will support you, but there must be something that you wake up in the morning to do. And then I'm there for support. Because I think the issue where even where the boundaries, people struggle with boundaries, is because they'll be having nothing to do. I'm sorry to say. So because they don't have anything to do, they now dabble into people's issues. Just because she's your wife, doesn't mean she must be about your business. No, she must have something that she's doing. And then she comes to you for support. She comes to you for advice. That's why you're there. That's why she's there. But the moment if you don't have anything that you're working on, you don't have a goal, you don't have an agenda in mind, you find that now you redirect your attention to something that you shouldn't have been bothered with in the first place, but you have nothing else to do. So you don't give your partner the space. If you've got something that you're working on, it's gonna automatically there's gonna be a space, because I'm busy with this. Get busy with something else. You know, I think that helps. And then let us now, because I'm there, I can show you the gray areas. I can give you an input. I can give you a second thought. Yes, but make sure there is something that you're working with as an individual. No, not as husband and wife. No, you. What are you doing? What are you working on? What are you planning to do? Because I think this goes back to planning. We must have plans as a family, including the children. We must plans as husband and wife, and then we must have plans individually. What do you want to achieve? And then everybody works on those. It helps a lot. Yes, of course, it helps a lot, because most of the time I've realized that the issue of boundaries is not really an issue. It's because somebody is busy with something they're not supposed to be concerned with. So now they now get into other people's, which you are not part of. If you are focusing on what you're supposed to be doing, the whole thing wouldn't even come in the first place. Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Oh, thought-provoking, Lindy. I love it. My take on this is that the union between two people should have a balance between self-centeredness and us-centeredness. So, and I don't mean self-centered in the negative way. I mean the concept of being able to know who I am as an individual, what my purpose is, and how I add value to the us. And when I know what my role is, where I fit in, then the us is able to move and function. You see, the Bible says, yes. Remember puzzle, thank you, Lindy. Puzzle pieces are individual pieces that eventually connect together and come together. Thank you for that. So at the same time, the Bible says where 2 and 3 are gathered, God's presence is, but also that 2 become 1. So 2 individuals become 1, coming together. So 2 wholes. Yes. 2 wholes. Yes. 2 holes, 2 circles that are coming almost on top of each other to become 1. You understand? That's another conversation, that can be unpacked differently. But you cannot develop or maintain or continue into a healthy us if there is a broken me or a toxic me. We need to be whole, and so the us have little space to move if the I is broken or toxic. And so it's so important. Individuality is important. I agree with Pastor Richard that I need to know what my other interests are, so that I'm able to come back home and feed the us. So because I draw strength from my own interests as well. Otherwise, if I'm too consumed in the life of my partner, then the me goes missing. And so many women say, we've been together for 10, 15, 20 years, and I lost me in the process. So many men say the same thing. I've gone through the relationship XYZ amount of years, but I've lost me in the process. And we don't want that. We want a relationship that is supported based on 2 individuals who are whole and who understand that are fully functional, that are matured to know and allow the partner to go and have some time away in order to come back and replenish the us. That is so important. We need to be able to find the balance. Otherwise, we are constantly going to find ourselves at loggerheads, when in fact we should be able to feed each other with our own individuality, becoming two streams, two rivers flowing into one, So it's being an individual and having your own thought processes, your own workspace is so important, because you are able to come and give into your relationship and into your space so much better, because you have your own feeding, which obviously stems from God. Thank you for that.
Beautiful. When I asked the question, I thought maybe you wouldn't understand, but I see you understand it more than I asked it. Thank you so much for the input. Really, the I needs to be imperfect, or it needs to be fixed before we come us. And sometimes we come in the marriage when the I is in good condition and it's in perfect order. But along the line, because of the demands of the marriage, we lose the I. I think when we go back to what we discussed on the first interval, that when we're a couple who reflects, we'll be able to see the cracks, to say, these are changing. This change is not good for us, you see. Yes, I don't do the things I like anymore. I sit at home, cook, watch TV, do homeworks. I don't pursue my dreams anymore. Then frustration will come, obviously. So, but when we are people who reflect, it will help us to go back to the right footing. Let's move on. That's an amazing thing. So as we move on, what are the ways, or what are positive ways that we can adopt, ways to manage conflict in a marriage?
Conflict. Yeah. We can't run away from challenges. Lindy, that is a topic. Conflict seems to be one of the issues that comes in and that damages a relationship, and we hold on to the old cows, and we let old stories, create pressure in our relationships and so on. The first thing I want to say about conflict is that our relationship is not a competition. Our relationship is it's a relationship, it's a partnership. So when there's conflict, you should be wise enough to know that it is a conflict. It is not a breakup. It is merely a misunderstanding of thought or thinking and so on. I cannot change how you feel. I cannot stop your emotions. It's not under my control. So it is for my partner to be able to say, I'm okay now, But when conflict happens, you should allow the conflict to take its natural process, its natural stage. But you will find some partners, they just want to, they want to stay in that conflict mode, and they don't want to have the maturity to step away. So you should be able to say, I am angry now, but I know that if I continue in this space, then I'm going to create further divide between us. So right now I'm going to walk away, and I will return when I'm calmer and when we are able to have a matured conversation. When the person walks away, let them walk away. they're not going away from the relationship. They're just going away from the argument for now to go and revive. But that person must come back. So when they come back, you should be able to say, are you ready to talk? Or do you need more time? Or you should be able to say, how are you and I together going to work on this? I would like us to be able to find a common ground, But argument and conflict shouldn't just be about two power play. It shouldn't be a power play. Instead, it should be us being mature enough to be able to understand that this is a conflict. We don't see eye to eye. We don't have an agreement, and there's no right or wrong. But it is a disagreement of opinion. And allow the opportunity for the two to just separate for a moment. Because if you do stay together in that conflicting situation, you might find yourself fueling the fire instead of coming to the point where you're able to talk to each other, And I think one way of maintaining good relations or avoiding the conflict is to remember to say please and thank you, to remember to be respectful of each other. If you are able to show respect to a colleague, and you're able to show respect to a friend, you're able to show respect to a sister or a brother, you're able to show respect to the in the retail world to a cashier, you should be able to use that same respect in your partnership. So when you talk to each other with respect. I think that's one way of minimizing conflict. Even when you are in a conflicting situation, fight fair. Fight in a respectable manner. Don't scream. Don't bring old issues. Don't make it a personal attack. But remember, we are disagreeing about an issue. I still love you. But right now, we are disagreeing about a particular issue. Let us talk about that issue rather than telling you how worthless you are as a person, So let us remember that when I walk away from the situation in order to bring calm. I'm not walking away from you.
I think when there's a point where there needs to be a walking away, that really needs to be communicated, to be made clear to the other party, to say, I'm not walking away from you. Absolutely. Because, we don't want to create a thing where we are motivating people in a conflict situation to say, walk away. We don't want to introduce, especially we're talking marriage here, it's a lifelong commitment, because a lot of things happen during that time when you walk away. A lot of influences come, the enemy comes and ministers lies, which are not the plan of God. So we should be very careful how we walk along those lines. But if it's communicated, I believe it can be done, in a way that can work for the two of them.
As you speak, I want to read a scripture because I want to draw a principle from it. The book of James, chapter number 5, verse number 16, it says, confess your trespass to one another and pray for one another that you may be healed. I want you to notice that the Bible connects healing to confessing to each other. So there has to be a point where you acknowledge you're wrong. Yes. I think it, and I'm gonna tell you something, and I want you to know that this is amazing, because many people don't realize pride has killed many relationships than infidelity. Can I say to you something controversial? Is that there are people who have cheated on each other, they're still married. Yes. And there's people who never cheated, that they broke up. Yes. The issue is the pride. The pride of not acknowledging your faults. We live in a society where men don't acknowledge they are wrong. Yeah. So you keep dragging this lady and you don't acknowledge anything. We live in a society now that women have stepped up. They have developed shoulders. They will tell you, I don't need you. I can manage my things. So you realize the biggest problem now we're dealing with is pride over anything. You have made a mistake. Are you humble enough to acknowledge it? You understand? So this is what, and trust me, society is bad because society is driving us to a place where you value your opinion more than the relationship. Don't value your opinion more than the relationship. Don't value the opinion more than that how your partner feels. You have an opinion and it's legitimate, but how does your wife feel about it? You know, and that's what I'm saying. The issue is the pride. The pride is you disregarding how she feels. The second thing, when it comes to conflict, know when is the right time to speak. The problem is that there are certain truths that you can communicate, but because of the timing, it will never ring. Yeah. So may God really help us in terms of when we say walking away, we are not saying walking away from the house. We are saying know when to leave the conversation.
That's it, yes.
Know when to leave the conversation, and then know when to come back.
Yes, and don't go walk to a friend.
No, of course. No, of course. One of the, and because we're dealing with real issues here, one of the things that has caused damage is when you have a problem with your partner, you start talking. So I have a problem with my wife, I start texting another girl.
Yes.
And obviously whatever she's going to say is going to sound better than what my wife said.
Yes.
The problem starts when you start talking to another man about your man's problem. Obviously he's going to tell you the good part and act like he's going to do better if it was him in the context. So that's what I'm saying, the issue of when, know when to leave the conversation and know when to come back to it. To say, that issue, did you think about it? You know, when the situation is calmer, there's no tense, and to say, no, what I was saying, what I don't agree with, what I was not happy with is this and this and this. So wisdom is really the when to speak. Wisdom is really when to speak. You can say the right thing at the very wrong time, and the person will never get it. So when you're dealing with conflict, number one, humility. I don't know. You know, a lot of good relationships have failed because there was a lack of humility. The man is saying, no, I don't listen to a woman. I cannot be led by a woman. I'm the man. I'm the head of the house. Yet, what your wife is saying is very much constructive. The marriages have broken up because a woman says, no, there's a 50-50. I'm also an equal partaker in this relationship. And these are the things that are destroying real marriages, that you prioritize your opinion so much over the health of the relationship. You want your part to be felt. You want your opinion to be heard. So this is what we're dealing with. We ask that we learn how to be humble to each other. You are the head of the house, but you're not always right.
Yes.
We know you also bring an income to the home, but you can actually listen. Sometimes maybe just do what your partner is saying you must do, without bringing up a fight or anything. And if you can learn that way of humility, our relationships will work. Because then only when you're humble, you're able to listen to the other person. Thank you.
So much. Wow. Hey, yeah, I've learned a lot, family. I hope you're also learning. Let's move on because of time. Now, how is it important, on that note, to protect each other? You know, you mentioned something like that when there's conflict. We're not talking only when there's conflict, but the reality of protecting each other is something that is needed for the health of the relationship. You know, that's something that we usually do when there's conflict. We go to the next person and open a door that will, put your partner at a place which is not fair, really. So how important is to protect each other, and what are the benefits of that?
Let me start. As you think, the issue of protecting each other. The first thing that we have to learn as couples is, if this relationship fails, we failed. You understand? Yes. And there's a painful truth that we never realize is that a divorce is not good for anybody, whether the person who filed it or the recipient of it. So what am I saying? I'm saying you are an equal partaker of the benefits and consequences of whatever is going to happen. That alone should tell you that your focus should be on your partner, not external voices. You know, there's something so amazing that you realize. You know, there are some things that I know about my wife. She's not hurt that I know them. But the day she knows that I told my friend, that's when the day she will break. You understand? There's the need to protect information as a couple. The need to protect our emotions. There are some things that you don't have to tell your family, not because they didn't hurt you. You are trying to protect the image of your partner. There's something if you go to your mom and your dad and you tell them this thing about your partner, it would have distorted their whole. They would be even wondering, why are you still there? Whereas if you had kept it, you would have protected the person's dignity and pointed out to them, this is the issue. And I can tell you, it's not the same thing when your issues are known by your family or when your issues are known by your wife. It's not the same feeling. As a man, I speak from a man's perspective. If my issues now spill down to the family, I feel naked. That's exactly how I feel. And I give you an example. I have a friend, the wife began to talk about his eating habits. As we speak, they divorced. 4 years into the marriage, they divorced. And when he points the issues, he says, no, this woman would go and tell the sisters, this is what I do. You know, another thing, when you're looking for counsel as a couple, your families are not the best to consult. I cannot go to my father and ask for counsel over my issues with my wife. My father will side with me. I don't know how we have failed to understand this. If you go to your mom and talk about your issues with your husband, your mom will side with you. She is your mom. She is your sister. She is your auntie. If you want sound advice, sound counsel, look for somebody who is neutral, who's going to hear both of you and who's going to tell you as it is. Because most of the time, what I've also have done is that as part of not protecting each other, we take our issues to our family. And you must know, everyone's family will back them, whether you are right or you are wrong. Very much important that as we protect each other, let's protect each other from our families. There's a reason God says you must leave your father and your mother. He knows the influence that your mother has. And the problem is, as I finish, your family will not be like your mother's family. It will not be like, and that's the problem. Sometimes because it's a normal thing. I expect my wife to behave like my mother. but she's not.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I don't think I can say anything on top of that, but only to say the importance of protecting your relationship is because it's yours.
Yes.
You have invested so much into that. Remember, we have that lovely saying that says, I've got your back. Yeah. You've got. Why do I have your back? Because this that we have built, that we have invested in, is a partnership. It's a togetherness. Society has come and has robbed us of that togetherness by infiltrating all this new thinking into this relationship, and now our relationship is so vulnerable, and it is up to us to say, I am going to restore. In other words, I'm going to take back what I have lost, and I'm going to give dignity back to my relationship. What does that mean? I'm going to be building that unity that is there, and the only way to do that is if I protect and cover what is ours, so that when we move on as a unit, because we want to see each other into for the longest time, and the only way to walk that journey for the longest time is if we protect what is ours, what we've invested into this relationship. I don't know, Lindy, but I feel it's important that we protect what is ours and that we continue to invest into what is ours.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the inputs. It's very, very helpful, especially because we are discussing restoring and we're also discussing the dignity of marriage. So now, as we close, I would just like you to say your final words of closing and you bring the mic back over.
All right. As I close, there is something that I want to leave with somebody who what they can use in their family. I call it the skill of encouragement. And this is something so personal, and that's why I know somebody's going to resonate with this, because when you're in a relationship with your wife, with your husband, please don't take the role of a critic. Be an encouragement. They are facing a lot at work. They are facing a lot in the ministry. The last thing that I want is to be criticized by somebody who yes, and you never know how much that removes the passion out of someone. Whatever they wanted to do for you, as the woman, even if she's a housewife, she's been cooking for you, she's taking care of your kids, and then when you come, you criticize, you don't appreciate, you literally remove the life out of her. Whatever she's been planning or she's been doing feels like it's worthless. And then you must know this discouragement is what has caused people to cheat. They are looking for somebody who's going to affirm them, who's going to appreciate them. This is very important. Learn how to encourage. Learn how to appreciate. And don't always be found on the side of being a critic. There is something that your partner is doing right. Rather focus on that. Because the more you now zero in on what they are doing wrong, you are removing the fire from the whole love thing. If you are encouraged, you do better. It's natural. It's natural that when you are appreciated, you do better. And then the problem is we live in a judgmental society. Some people feel like they always have to find what is wrong. Please find a way to appreciate what is right. Yes, so that you know that when you come, and then this is the issue where the flowers come in, the chocolates come in, the dates come in, is your way of saying, no, I appreciate that you're here. I appreciate you doing life with me. If you can get that, you realize that the person will be happy to, and they will do better. Even if they're doing wrong, they will now check, the way this person appreciates, it means if I cooked today, they appreciate it like this. Tomorrow, if I add more colors. Yes. So this is the last word from me. Please encourage each other, appreciate each other. Thank you.
The Bible says in the New Testament that a new commandment I give you, love one another as I have loved you. That's the word of Jesus. And my concluding remark, Lindy, would be your partner also is deserving of love. And how Jesus loves us is how we should is how we should be committed. Because at the end of the day, it is that love that we want to base our relationships on. It is that love that we want to share. And our relationships is a way of worshiping God. It is a way for us to display the love of God to other people. We are not brought together we are brought together by design. And in that, what I'd like to share is that there are youngsters that are following us. There are young women that are looking up at us as women. There are young boys who are looking up at young men, and they are looking at your relationship and they are finding value in your relationship. So we are not married just for us. We are married for those that follow us. And if we want marriage to be dignified, if we want marriage to continue, if we want our young minds who are following us to the next generation to continue in our footsteps and to improve on what we did, then we need to give them a blueprint to work with. And so that is my final thought. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to our viewers for watching. And my final words is play together, love each other, be friends with each other, and more than anything, love each other and forgive each other. You know, one of the things that holds us to our relationship not moving forward is because we've not forgiven each other. Like what the man of God said, according to James chapter 5, verse 16, we need to forgive each other. Confess our sins. That's where it starts. That's the starting point. And yes, that puts us in a vulnerable situation, but it is helpful for our relationship, and it is helpful for the health of our relationship. So love each other, be playful, and remember the element of surprise. Make sure that you are intentional in spending time together. Create the moments, and more than anything, reflect. Make time, set aside time to reflect. Go back and look at the drawing board. Where have we gone wrong? What are we doing right? And work on those things that you need to work at. From me, your host, Lindy Gule. We'll see you again next time. We love you and stay blessed.